let's move on to topic that is a low probability, high impact topic. When we start getting prepared for things, we try to start off with the higher probability, high impact items like hurricanes, things like that. And when we get to nuclear, it's low probability, but a nuclear bomb could certainly ruin your day. It could also plow you under if you don't understand how to survive fallout or radiation. And so I'm going to turn this over to Roberta here, and she's going to be going over the topic of preparing for fallout at home. I don't think in Florida any of us have a bomb shelter that's all dug out in the front yard or backyard or something. If we don't make it before some event happens, we don't get it out of town, then we need to know how to survive it here at home. So over to Roberta.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, Roberta.
Hi. Okay, good. So remember this book? We went over at the last Zoom meeting also. So a lot of the data that I got is from this book, and some is also from, David has another book. What I'm covering is in the home. Okay, excuse my high tech here. This is like a floor plan. Ideally, the best place to have a space that's safe is one that is inside of a brick or cinder block or concrete. Next to that, if you just have a regular home, if you have any rooms that do not have windows, those are the best places. So in this drawing here, I've laid out possible places. The one in the darker gray, that's the most ideal in this particular floor plan. The ones that have the cross hatching are the next ones, and those are like bathrooms and closets. You want a space that doesn't have a window. So my next picture, this is a cross view, and this is one way you can prepare that space even better. So what you're looking at here is you're adding sandbags to the space, basically like an attic. So since you have joists in your house, that is the wood over your ceiling and below the roof. And it holds up the sheetrock, which is, I have these marked out in the drawing here. The sheetrock you can see is above the empty room. And then you have the joist, and then you have plywood panels or sheet metal. And then on top of that, you put sandbags. The reason you have the plywood panels or sheet metal is so that the sandbags do not rest on the sheetrock. If you've ever been in an attic and stepped through the sheetrock, you know how inconvenient that is. And then you would lay the sandbags like that so that you have a constant or pretty constant layer as high as you can get. Now you don't want to add so many sandbags that it breaks through your plywood and cover the sand. Then you want to turn off the AC. Sorry, it's Florida, but if you leave your AC on, you're sucking air out of the outside, which may contain radioactive particulates, and these will be shoved into the space that you're in. So you don't want to do that. You want to shut off the AC, you want to close the vent, and you want to put like tape or cardboard over that vent. Then you want to tape up the doors. And if by any chance you do have windows, you want to put up something and then tape that up. At the bottom here, I give you two different solutions. One of them is on the left here is an air purifier. Now, this air purifier has to have certain specifications. Now, it will say or advertise HEPA, HEPA 13. That is a kind of filter, and it's corrugated, and it stands for high efficiency particulate air. Okay, that will trap and stop radioactive particles. That's a good thing, right? So that will clean out your space of anything that gets in. You also want to make sure that that air purifier contains a activated carbon filter. That will handle the carbon monoxide and any other gases and actually odors, because you're going to have odors. But it will not, the only thing that it will not handle is carbon dioxide. Putting some plants in there will not handle the carbon dioxide. What you have to do is very briefly, once in a while, let in some outside air. So that's why this filter on the right is actually a good idea, because that will take fresh air from the outside and filter it, so you don't get the radioactive particles. Now, your sandbags should cover any ducts and stuff like that, or go underneath them if you can. But any ducts going directly into the room, you'd have sandbags over the top of it. Okay, so next.
Roberta, I have a
Yeah,
question. Did
yeah.
you say HEPA T or HEPA 13?
13, 1-3.
Okay,
Okay, that's us. And you can find several different air purifiers online that have those specifications.
the carbon filter.
The carbon activated and the HEPA 13.
Okay,
That means that you can, be a little bit self-assured that you're not going to get those particles that will get trapped in your space and give you a lot of radiation. That means you can move around in your space. This is if you don't have a room that has no windows, okay? So I kind of mocked up this concept here. And if you, and this is just one suggestion. Okay, to the left, you have a cabinet, right, that has doors on the front. That's a good place to store your food and your water and stuff like that, right? Then you take the dining room table, only if it's a decent dining room table, and you prop it up on the edge of that cabinet and then put something under the legs, right, for added stability. Okay, then you go over to the other side and you prop it up with something else, like a chair, but you take zip ties and you secure it. Sorry. And then and you put something under that leg also. Then you start stacking up anything that you can find that has mass and density to it. And I've given some suggestions: books, griddles, pots and pans, floor tiles, like the bathroom kind, the porcelain kind. That's where your table is being secure, is that why that's important, okay? See that red line? That's like a plastic sheeting or a tarp or something like that, right? Or you can even, if you have canvas drop cloths, right? Those are not ideal, but they're better than nothing, right? You can either put it under the mass or over the mass, right? But it's got to drop around the whole setup, right? So, and then as much as you can, put mass around the outside of your table. And then inside, you can see you have some like couch cushions, you have a pillow, your sleeping bag, change of clothes, and I'll get to that later. Okay, so this is if you don't have a space that is totally, windowless.
I'm sorry. So would you prepare this before, like to keep it in some part of the room all the time, or?
Well, you could, or in a spare room if you have it.
I
But you can have the things that you want to use, so you know where they are, and you can put it together real fast. So like I told you last week, you have about 25 minutes. If in Florida, in Clearwater, if something goes on at MacDill Air Force Base, you have 25 minutes. So you can throw that together if you have the things and you know where they are. Ideally, if you have a basement, you've got it made. Okay. A basement's very nice to have because you can have everything set up already.
How long are you supposed to stay in this till the fallout dissipates?
A part of the things, one of the things you're supposed to get are a Geiger counter, basically. And they sell small ones these days, and they sell them for a reasonable price. Now, in the book, it goes over going through your house, and you can measure those areas that have a low reading. And so you know right off the bat which are the best areas to set up something like the table thing. I can show it in my little picture here.
Yeah.
Okay, so see that? Yeah. So I think he said this is about 125 or something.
It's 116 at the moment.
Okay, 116.
I paid 98, so you can wait till next year and pay 150 for it.
Okay, so it's good to have this before, and then when you set it up and this thing happens and you get in your shelter, you test the air outside of your little tent, right? And when it gets down to 0.05 to 0.1, okay, then it's safe to come out. But that's generally, if you're not at ground zero, that's generally 2 days.
And to be safe, which, the ideal is 2 weeks in
That's
your
right.
shelter.
That's right. But 2 days you can run out and get something and then come back, you know, okay? One thing you have to do, and David brought this up, is the radioactive rays. If that dust gets on your food and you consume it, it's not a good thing. So you want to keep your food safe, right? And you want to go directly from the packaging or the can into your mouth and not expose it outside of your safe space. I made up a list of things that you can put in place to get ready for something. Now, when I say here, check with meter, I'm talking about the radioactive meter. You go around and you find your safe space. So then we have the water, you have medium plastic bags for kitchen size, and this will be for trash and body waste. Okay, that's very important. You want to keep your hygiene and okay, and then you want a 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat. And if you can possibly put that in a location that's a safe space, but different from where you're at. And then you want to package it up. And the book suggests you put it in a Ziploc bag. Then you want lamps and recreational items, first aid kit, white tape for sealing up the doors and the windows. And then you want sanitary wipes because you want to keep things as clean as possible. Okay, and then there's body wipes, deodorant, especially if you have other people in your space. And then there's a thing called a toilet backflow plug. It's also for the shower and the bathtub. These you can buy, they got several different kinds. You look on Amazon. What this does is that it keeps backflow from coming up your sewer drain. And it will do so, especially if you're in lower lying areas.
Yeah.
And you do not want that in your space. Hygiene items, sleeping bags, pillows, mess kit. With your mess kit, if you clean it out with like the sanitary wipes, you won't be using up your water, right? And then each person has their own mess kit. Change of clothes, plastic poncho, and gas mask. This is for when you're starting to go out of your space. Emergency radio, if you could still get it, still get signals. Your ham radio. Bell ducts. Fans, your portable purifier. If you're in an area where it gets cold, a heater. That purifier and device charge cords, chargers, extension cords. If you have solar, Don't forget your extension cord and a power strip. So the next list is your last minute preps. This is like, you've got to fit this in 25 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to post this up in our space. So if it comes to having to do it, we can just check these things off and a team action to put it together. So that's a Berkey. You install the backflow devices. You fill the tub with water. You've got to do that at the beginning because the city water in a lot of places runs on an electrical pump. That electrical pump will go out and it will lose the water pressure. So you want to make sure that you fill up your tub as much as you can as soon as you can. Couch cushions to sleep on. You hook up your solar. You have your defensive weapons and ammo. Make sure that's in your space. You lock all outer doors and windows. You don't want anybody coming in because you forgot to lock the door. Any perishable foods that you want to keep in a cooler, take one of your large trash bins and put it under an outside window, one that you can quickly open up and toss out body waste and trash. And you can just toss it in and then get back in your shelter. Vitamins, medications, you cover up your windows if you can. Like in Florida, some people have those metal louver things, or they have hurricane windows. That's a big job in 25 minutes, but whatever you can do. Tape up the doors, tape up the space, air conditioning vents, and turn off the AC. And then you have your meter, and you keep your meter with you so you can test the air and when it's safe to come out.
Okay, this is a little comment here about the mass, and she talks about putting some mass up in your attic in the form of sun bags, and also on the tables or above you in the form of ammo and books and whatever has lots of mass. There's something called a halving thickness. What that means is it's a thickness that reduces the radiation by 50%. This is centimeters, this is inches. Basically, 4/10 of an inch of lead, less than half an inch, will reduce 1,000 units of radiation to only 500. At 500, you're going to probably get sick. At 1,000, you're probably going to die. But if you don't want to get sick, then you reduce it further. An inch of steel, which is a pretty heavy thing, would reduce it another half. Concrete, 2.5 inches of concrete, 2.4 inches of concrete will do it. Packed soil, 3.6 inches of packed soil. So if we were going to have sandbags and so forth on top of the tables, well, you try to put as many layers of sandbags as you can, because every 3.5 inches of sandbags is another thickness. It might take you down to 250 units of radiation. If you can get lumber. Well, lumber, it's 11 inches of lumber.
Yeah. A lot.
It's a lot of lumber to cut it in half. So you just have to be able to think with that. And then air to reduce it by 50%. Well, you just need 6,000 inches of air. And this sounds a little bit silly, but in actual fact, you want to put as much distance between yourself and the outside radiation as possible. And that all by itself will tend to reduce the amount of radiation that your body is subjected to.
Sorry, I still have one question regarding the windows. So why it is bad to have windows on that room? Is it because the air, like the pressure wave, might break it, or
That's
any other?
yeah.
That's the
reason.
primary thing. That's the
And
primary thing.
it's not very thick.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if I protect it from the outside, then in theory, like with those hurricane protective methods, then it could be okay, right?
Well, it's better than nothing.
But a wall is better.
Okay.
Hmm. I
Uh,
have a question, if I could.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Um,
let me finish answering his question.
okay.
In
Oh,
terms
sorry.
of, in terms of, when there's a nuclear explosion, the first thing that's going to hit, is going to be the heat wave.
Oh,
It's going to go faster than the air. Then the next thing it's going to hit is air, and it starts off at about 300 or 400 or 500 miles an hour, near ground zero, and then it slows down as it goes farther out. We're 20 miles from MacDill Air Force Base, which is a prime target. We're about 15 miles from some of the airports that might get hit. And so by the time it gets to us, it may shake our windows, it may break our windows, and it may just rattle our windows and um, all that. So if it breaks your windows, then that's not a good place to be, because the blast wave coming through with that kind of speed, you want to basically be up against the wall, where it might come in from the window, because it's going to come rushing in, and that's the safest place actually, is against the wall where it's coming in. Then the wind goes blowing through. We'll talk more about these kinds of fine points, but just once you see how this thing works, then you try to figure out the best ways to have the least problems with it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Linda? Yeah, my question is let's say there's a nuclear bomb dropped in Georgia, just to pick a a place that we know is a distance away. How far away do you have to be considered somewhat safe from something like this?
40 miles.
40? 40?
That's for blast. Blast
That's for the
reasons.
blast.
Yeah.
Oh, but
And
not for the fallout.
Not for
No,
the
you can be
fallout.
thousands of miles
Wait.
away and still get the radiation.
Wow.
Fallout, yeah.
The wind carries it, you know.
And most of all, it depends upon
Yes.
whether it's a ground burst, which means that the bomb hits the ground and then blows up, or it's an air burst,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it's at 10,000 feet or something like that. The blast goes further, about twice as far, but it's not sucking out millions of tons of sand and throwing it into the atmosphere and into the jet stream to blow all over the world. So an
Oh,
air burst is going to
okay.
be much safer for radiation purposes.